Hey there. So now that you have access to the wonderful tool that is AutoRaptor, you may be asking yourself, what is the most important thing I need to know about AutoRaptor? Well, we would have to say that everything in AutoRaptor starts and ends with the upsheet. An upsheet will keep all the information you need for each sales opportunity, like contact details, vehicles of interest, trade information, email conversations, appointments, and notes. All of this together in one place. As your customers return to your dealership to make additional purchases, over the years, multiple upsheets will be created for them. So although there are different roles at the dealership when it comes to the CRM, admin, manager, and sales rep, it is important for all AutoRaptor users to have knowledge of and understand the upsheet. Accurate customer information will drive sales, and that starts with the upsheet. So this video is going to take a look at creating an upsheet, go through all the different parts of the upsheet, and a little bit of how you're going to manage that upsheet in order to sell more cars. So let's go ahead and get started. There are two places where you have the option to create a new upsheet. As you can see, here we are on the dashboard. There's a green button over here, add a new upsheet. So this is one place. The other place is on your upsheets tab, where eventually you're going to see all of your contacts listed here. Everyone that you've been in contact with and are trying to sell a car. So let's go ahead and click Add a New Upsheet. You're going to start by entering in first name, last name, and either a phone or an email address. When you're entering a phone number, you don't have to put any dashes in. All you need to do is put in the phone number. And then you're going to click Search for Matches. What happens is the system will search to see if Mr. Hansen here had already been entered by somebody else, if he had already contacted the dealership. In this case, there was no matches found, so that means that nobody else is working with him. If there was matches found, it would show you, what was there, who was assigned to those upsheets. And at that point, you'd want to go ahead and get with that person to coordinate communication with that customer. So at this point, you'll want to go ahead and add in the rest of the contact information that you've collected on this customer. And it's just really important to note that the more information that you can gather, the more beneficial that's going to be to you in the short term and the long term, because it's going to allow you to have a better line of communication. So go ahead and click Add Additional Information. And this is going to display all the fields that we have available. So you can start off if you know what the customer does or where he works, you can enter that information in. We've already got his cell phone here. If you'd collected any other phone numbers, you can add those in. Email address. Birth date. So usually when you're talking with someone, especially if they go on a test drive, you're going to get a copy of that person's license. So you're most likely going to have their birthday. One thing that's pretty neat about AutoRaptor is it will give you a reminder of any contacts you have with birthdays coming up, which at that point you could send them a quick birthday email. Or we also have a feature where the dealership can send birthday emails out automatically. This dates field is if you really know this person and you want to set up a reminder for, say, an anniversary, you can go ahead and label the important date here and choose the dates from the drop-down. Here we have physical address. This becomes beneficial when you're interested in maybe printing out a letter to mail to this customer. And then down at the bottom here, we have a notes field. As you can see in here, it says notes about this contact, not the deal. So this is where you want to put, more personal information that you may have learned from chatting with this customer in order to help you remember who they are next time you give them a call or you speak with them. You can maybe ask them, if they've been to any Red Sox games in a little while. Or just talk about the team in general. So once you have all your information entered that you've collected, you can go ahead and click Add Contact. And this is going to create a fresh upsheet. So now I'm going to take you through all these different parts of the upsheet. One of the first things you want to do after you create the upsheet is choose a source. So over here you see the field labeled source with the drop down. It is so important to ask a prospect how they learned about the dealership, whether it's online, a magazine ad, radio, or perhaps they're a referral from another customer. Logging this information is important to the dealership because that's going to help them decide which sources are producing the best prospects, those that are more likely to turn into a sale. And then management can adjust where they're spending their advertising dollars in order to get the sales team, better people that are contacting the dealership online, through the phones, and walking through the door. So never hesitate to ask a person how they came to be there talking to you. So we're going to go ahead and choose a source. Choose one of our auto magazines. Next, you'll want to add a vehicle to the upsheet. You're selling cars, so the vehicle information is in a pretty important field. The vehicle section in AutoRaptor is searchable, so even if you don't remember someone's name or their phone number, it's easy to find prospects by what they are shopping for, and then you can target your communications with them. So go ahead and click the link to add vehicle, and you can search your inventory by vehicle description, stock number, or VIN. So start off by typing a year, a make, a model, and based on what you type, it's going to pull up matches in your inventory. So you'll see here, after just typing the year and the make, I have one vehicle that matches that profile. So I can go ahead and click Add to put that onto the upsheet. So now if someone's looking for something that isn't available in your inventory, we recommend simply using the phrase looking for and then a description of whatever type of vehicle it is that they're looking for. And the reason we say to use the looking for phrase is that when you go to search, you can always have a common phrase that is going to bring up that group of people. So you can see if any of your new vehicles in your inventory match what people are shopping for. You can add multiple vehicles to an upsheet as well. So if someone is interested in multiple vehicles, go ahead and put both of those on the upsheet. So now that you've added the vehicle of interest to the upsheet, does your customer have a trade that they're looking to trade in with you? Trade information is usually important when it comes to putting together a deal for a prospect. Adding this information to the upsheet gives the sales team a more complete picture of the prospect when working to sell him or her a new vehicle. So that's the next section down here. You'll go ahead and click Add Trade, where you'll see all the fields that are available. The only two that we require in order to save it to the upsheet is the year and the make. But obviously you'll want to fill in as much information as possible at the time that you're creating the upsheet. You can always come back and edit this information and fill in more pieces of the puzzle as you gather that information. One thing that a lot of people ask is if I enter the VIN in there, will it automatically fill in the rest of the information for me? The answer is no. But if you do enter the VIN in for the trade, as long as your account is set up to integrate with Carfax or AutoCheck, you would then be able to run a Carfax or AutoCheck report on the trade, which could give you a lot of information about that vehicle. So once you have the information that you've gathered so far, you can go ahead and click the button to save trade. Next, you'll want to add in your notes about what has been discussed with this customer. Notes allow the sales team to keep track of what happened with the customer instead of sticky notes all over your desk. Notes also help managers to stay on the same page with sales reps as well as track the activity of the sales team. So up here above the contact's information, you're going to click in the box Start Typing to add a note. Next, you'll want to label the note. As you can see, we have a few different labels. There's one that's just a regular note, demo if you've done a demo with the customer, outgoing call, incoming call, feedback if the customer is returning to the dealership for a second visit, and review is usually done by your manager but can be used to draw more attention to a note on an up sheet if you'd like. Type in here what you guys discussed. Once you add the activity, you'll see that it fills in down here in the activity log. So every time you do something on an up sheet, whether it's leaving a note, completing a task, closing out an appointment, sending an email, a text message, all that gets logged here in the activity with a date and time stamp. Once you have a list of more than 7 activities, you'll need to click the link to view all activities to see the complete history with that customer. So at this point, you should have an up sheet with contact information, source, vehicle information, trade, and notes. Now you'll need to manage the follow-up with the customer. So the next part of this video will cover managing the activities of the up sheet. What exactly does managing an up sheet mean? We've gathered lots of great information on the customer, and now we want to use that to continue in the sales process. The up sheet is going to give you a place to communicate with the customer, schedule appointments, track and set follow-up, and change the status of that customer. We are taking the second half of this video tutorial to cover this information. When we left off, we had entered a note that indicated the customer set up an appointment. So the first thing I'd like to show you is how you're going to schedule an appointment. And setting appointments is important to selling vehicles overall. Statistics show that 1 out of every 4 appointments set will turn into a sale. So you really want to give customers a reason to visit the dealership. You always want to be scheduling test drives, trade appraisal, financing approvals, and of course your delivery appointments. Because essentially tracking appointments is tracking your sales. So come over here to the sidebar. In the appointment section, you're going to click Add. It's going to bring up the calendar. From there, you can choose the date the customer is going to come in. Over here, you'll see a pop-out where if you had any other appointments scheduled, it would list the time, so you would try not to have 2 people coming at the same time. You're going to choose what time they're coming in. It's automatically assigned to you. If you weren't available to meet with this customer, you do have the option to assign the appointment to one of your managers. You're going to enter in the reason for their visit. And this is just going to help you when you're looking at your schedule. You can really prepare for this person to come to the dealership. Once you're done, click Save Appointment. It is very important to mark the result of the appointment. Choose from the drop-down what happened with the customer. Kept if the customer showed up, missed if the customer did not show up, and canceled if they didn't show up but they at least let you know that they couldn't make it. Whenever you choose one of these, you have the option to leave additional notes, which I encourage, about what happened at the appointment. Next, you'll want to take a look at the tasks that are assigned to you on this upsheet. Tasks are the reminders to follow up with your customers. You will find your tasks listed each day on your schedule tab, as well as on the dashboard. You have a set of tasks that are assigned to you with each upsheet automatically set up by the dealership, and these are whether you manually enter the contact or you're assigned an internet lead. So they'll have a due date next to them. To complete the task, you'll simply check the box next to the task. A box will pop up prompting you to leave additional notes about the follow-up that you did. Please choose one of the tags that goes along with whatever activity you completed, especially with outgoing calls, so you get credit with your manager. And this indicates that you completed the follow-up. If you were looking at your follow-up reminders and it made a little more sense to follow up with this person in 3 days versus 2 days, when you put your cursor over the task, you notice that you have the option to edit. You do also have the option to delete, which we don't encourage. Deleting tasks will show up in your manager's activity log, so they may question why you are deleting tasks rather than completing them. So if you'd like to edit the task, click on that. It's going to bring up the calendar where you can simply just choose a different due date for this task that makes more sense based on what you're doing with the customer. If you complete all your initial tasks and you're still wanting to follow up with the customer, you can click Add Task to add in additional follow-up with the customer sometime in the future. We definitely encourage this because the task is really the only way that you're going to get this person to pop up in your schedule. So if you're still working them, you definitely want to have a task on the upsheet. Speaking of the Schedule tab, let's take a quick look at that. The Schedule tab is designed to show you all of your tasks and your appointments that are due in the next 7 days. So up at the top here, you'll see the time of an appointment. If you put your cursor over it, it'll give you more details. If you look down in the particular days, it'll actually list out any tasks that are due, and then again, and the appointment details. If you have any overdue tasks, you'll also have a link to those tasks as well so that you can address those as soon as possible. So the Schedule tab is really a place you're going to want to go every day in order to see what needs to get done on that particular day and get a preview of what's coming up in the next few days ahead of that in case you have time to get a jump start on that follow-up as well. Jumping back to the upsheet, so you already know how to leave notes about any phone calls that you make to the customer. Let's talk about some other ways to communicate with them. If you scroll down to the communication section, you have the option to compose a new email or send a text message. Emails are a great way to communicate with your contacts, and AutoRaptor allows you to store these messages right here in this upsheet. So anything you send is saved here. Anything you receive from the customer comes straight back into this upsheet. We'll click Start Composing a New Email. In this box here, you can type up a message in your own words to the customer. You can edit the subject line, which always defaults to the vehicle listed on the upsheet. If there's no vehicle on the upsheet, then it would default to the dealership's name. You're welcome to use any of the rich text capabilities to fancy up your email, like bold, italics, highlight, or changing the color of the font. You can attach files to this email by browsing the computer. So if you have a picture or some sort of form that you have to send to the customer, you can do that. If you're linked up to Carfax or AutoCheck, you would have the option to send a vehicle history report to this customer, a link to the report, which this vehicle does not have a report available, so we don't have that option. We also have a template library. So if you see the words up here, and you put your cursor over the words, you'll be presented with a drop-down. These are all pre-written messages that allow you to quickly contact the customer. So let's go ahead and choose one of these. So here it is, it plugs in the message. This is what we call a data tag. So you won't see the customer's name here, but when you send the email, it's going to fill in the customer's first name, as well as the email signature that we set up for you at the beginning of this training. You can feel free to click into the message and add in any personal thoughts of your own that you'd like to do. And once you're ready, you can go ahead and send the email. You'll see that your email shows as sent in the activity log, and also down here in the communication section you get a little preview of that message. When the customer writes back, you're going to get a notification in the application as well as your email if you have that turned on. Texting is another great way to communicate with your contacts, and it's really quick. And sometimes when you can't get through to someone by phone or email, you'd be surprised, but you'd get a response by text message. So your conversations will be stored right on the upsheet. This is an optional feature, so you may want to check with your account admins to see if it's turned on, and if it's not turned on, you can have a discussion with them to see whether or not that's going to benefit you in the sales process. So down in the communication section again, you're going to click on the link to send a text message. The box is going to pop up prompting you to choose a recipient for this text. And then right here in the box, you're going to type out your message. You can also attach pictures to a text. One thing you may want to do is make sure that you identify yourself as someone from the dealership. So type out your message, and to send, you just hit the enter. And now you'll just go about doing whatever you're doing, and when you receive a text message back, it's going to come right back to the upsheet and you'll get a notification for that. So how do you know if you've received a notification in AutoRaptor? Well, up here you'll see there's a little globe icon, and next to the globe is a number badge, and it indicates that there's one new notification. So if you click on that, you'll get your list of notifications. Any ones that are not acted upon or haven't been clicked on yet will have the blue shading to them. So you'll see that we've received a new text message from Frank Hansen here. So let's go ahead and click on it, and that's going to take you to the upsheet where you can see in your activity log as well as in your communication section down here that he texted you back from your text message about the appointment, confirming that he will be at the appointment. So at this time, you could send a little reply and hit enter. As a sales rep, you're going to receive notifications, so that number badge appearing up here, wherever you are in the application. Anytime you are assigned a new upsheet, receive a new email message, or receive a new text message. So you'll just want to keep an eye out for that number popping up there and click on it and take action on those notifications as soon as you can. The last part of the upsheet I would like to cover is changing the temperature or status of the upsheet. This is an important part of the sales process because it helps the sales team to prioritize follow-up and to track sales and lost deals. So here we are on Frank's upsheet, and this is what I call the temperature status button. So if you click on it, it brings down our status temperature choices. Every new lead defaults to the temperature of hot. So it's an active up sheet and it has a temperature. It's up to the sales team to adjust the temperature of the lead to warm or cold based on where that customer is as far as timing, whether they're approved or not. There's different factors involved, and I think it's a good idea for the sales manager and the sales team to agree upon what those temperatures mean. That way, when you're looking at your schedule, you'll have an idea of the people you should make sure you contact first, second, and third. Then as far as statuses, sold means that the customer has not taken possession of the vehicle yet, but they are going to buy it. Delivered, that's a done deal. The customer has driven off with the vehicle. So ultimately, anybody who's marked sold would move on to delivered. And when you choose delivered, that's going to trigger the long-term follow-up with the customer. And then lost. So you're not going to win every deal. So when you're not going to be working with the customer anymore at this time, you can choose lost. I'm going to click on it right now just to show you. When you choose lost, we give you a drop down where you can pick a reason. Why is this customer not buying from you? So this list pretty much covers all the reasons that someone wouldn't be buying from the dealership. So you'll want to choose one of those reasons, and the benefit of that is that the lost customers are kept in the system and you can always search for them by reason and go back to those customers at some point. Now, in this case, this customer, he had an appointment this morning, and based on our notes here, it looks like he is really liking the vehicle. We're giving him a good amount of money for his trade, so they've done some numbers and he's given a deposit. So he just wants to bring his wife back to give the stamp of approval on this vehicle. So for Frank, we're actually going to move him to sold. Since there's more than one vehicle listed on the upsheet, you'll have to pick which vehicle it is they're purchasing. We'll go with the GTS. And you'll see that it moves Frank to the sold status. Your task, we had edited some of our tasks, so those stuck, but we also got a task to get ready for delivery, which may not be applicable in the end, since his appointment for this evening could finalize the deal and he could be moved on to delivered by this evening. So let's just fast forward and say that all works out. Once you choose delivered, you're going to be asked to confirm this is the correct vehicle. If you had used the quoting tool, it may give numbers there. If not, it just defaults to a cash deal. You just want to make sure that the sold and delivered dates are accurate. Click Confirm Delivery. So now Frank is no longer listed as a prospect. He's now an owner. And when you scroll down to your task, you'll see that you have a whole new set of tasks. These are your long-term follow-up with the customer, where you will be reminded to periodically check in with the customer to hopefully get yourself some referral business and repeat customers in the future. I'd like to thank you for taking time to watch this video and learn about AutoRaptor. This really is the tool that can help you to sell more cars. We have other training videos, help documents, live training, and phone and email support available to you. The AutoRaptor team is here to help you succeed. We're in this together. So don't hesitate to contact us when you need help. Thank you again. I wish you well in getting started with AutoRaptor. Hope you have a great day.